In the wake of Marvel's Spider-Man 2 and its massive success and popularity, today I thought it'd be interesting to discuss another esteemed superhero video game series, that being the Arkham franchise, which is why I'll be analyzing and ranking all of the deadliest characters Arkham has to offer, from weakest to strongest, off their power, feats, and skill. Before we get into it, make sure to drop a like, subscribe for more, and let's get right into it. Sadly, at the bottom, we have Electrocutioner. Outside of his shock gloves, he doesn't really have anything going for him, and with this pitiful display in Arkham Origins, I thought about even putting him on this list. Copperhead, by proxy of pressing Origins Batman, with their skill and poison, would be able to beat Electrocutioner, but I can't in good faith place her any higher compared to the rest of the characters on this list. She was only able to give Batman that tough of a time by getting the jump on him, and as soon as it was a fair fight, she pretty much just got bodied almost as bad as Electrocutioner did. Deadshot would obviously be at the top of this tier due to his prowess as a sniper. Even at close to mid-ranges, he's shown to be extremely deadly, with even the likes of Arkham City Batman seeing him as a threat and even having to resort to sneak Deadshot before putting him down. So I can't really see him losing to the Fraud or Copperhead in a straight up fight. He likely just pulls out his wrist shooters and blitzes. Above this tier is where we're really treading dangerous waters. As much as this hurts to say, Harley was shown to be able to outright tag and fight against the likes of Nightwing, which would at the very least make her a greater threat than the tier below, who only lasted seconds against a year 2 Batman. That being said, Harley still wouldn't be able to beat Catwoman, who was shown being able to somewhat keep up and pace herself while fighting alongside Arkham Knight Batman. It was even capable of giving Batman some difficulty in their fight in Arkham Origins Blackgate. Although Harley did beat Nightwing, it's a constant reoccurring thing with Arkham Nightwing dropping his guard and not taking a fight as seriously as he should. When matched up against Batman, Harley poses very little of a threat and consistently gets tossed aside. Talia is in a very interesting spot compared to these characters. While I have no doubt in my mind that she's more skilled than the two, she's literally just featless, but at the very least she should scale to her sister Nissa, who's able to sneak behind Batman, which would put the two of them above the likes of Harley, but behind Catwoman due to her lack of feats. Batgirl in theory should be above Catwoman due to her being able to convincingly beat Harley and Joker alongside Tim, but the lack of showings really hinder her placement. Above this tier, we're really getting into the heavy hitters of the Arkhamverse who could really give Batman a good fight, with Waylon Jones, better known as Killer Croc, sitting comfortably at the bottom. Although Croc was able to go blow for blow against Batman and Nightwing, he kinda got no-diffed and didn't really force them to exert themselves as shown in their cutscene. And are we really gonna say Batman couldn't handle Croc by himself? Right above Croc, I have Firefly, who boasts a level of AP and devastation that Croc could only dream of, being able to severely damage Gotham Pioneer Bridge and give Batman much more of a harder fight than Croc did. Furthermore, Firefly was able to fly fast enough to evade capture and outrace the Batmobile in multiple instances, so if the two of them actually fought, Firefly would just have to stay in the air and blast Croc, and I don't really see what Croc could do. During his fight against Batman, Grundy posed way more of a threat to Batman than any of these characters did, with Batman not being able to outright beat a fully charged Grundy and having to resort to removing the charge off of Grundy before hitting him with a fatality, scaling him above Firefly and Croc due to them not having the necessary skills, equipment, or the shown feats to deal with someone like Grundy. Even with this fire, I don't really see a scenario where Firefly could put down or contain Grundy. Ivy is probably the most interesting character to rank in this entire video. When it comes to her raw AP and how much damage she can do, she's probably blatantly the strongest in the whole verse, but that doesn't necessarily mean she would just curb stomp everyone. Even while amped up on Titan and even with all of her advantages, she still lost to Batman and poses way less of a threat than the upcoming characters. She's definitely strong and versatile enough to handle Grundy and Firefly, but going off of how they performed against Batman, Clayface would be above Ivy and placed at the top of this tier, due to Ivy not having any concrete counters to beating him. Clayface is pretty much invulnerable to everything and his only weakness is extreme cold, and last time I checked, none of these characters have that in their arsenal. Blunt damage, fire, or Ivy spore attacks aren't going to be that effective against Clayface, so they're literally in a situation where they have no way to hurt him while he has everywhere to hurt them. Ivy's pheromones could be the equalizer in a fight against Clayface, but I'm not too sure how well that would work against him. When looking at all the angles, I'd put my bet on Clayface being at the top of this tier. This tier is really where we get into the characters who can match up skill for skill against the Dark Knight. To probably many surprise, Shiva finds herself at the bottom of this tier. Although she does have unparalleled skill, she still lost to a younger Bruce during his initiation. It was no better than Bruce at the time of Origins, and with her lack of feats, I can't place her any higher. Ra's al Ghul, with his incredible skill and speed, was able to go toe to toe against a temporarily cured Arkham City Batman, and was even shown stalemating Batman in certain instances during their fight. Mr. Freeze has a legitimate case for giving Batman the toughest fight of his life. Even with all his skill, Ra's was still not shown to be anywhere near the threat that Mr. Freeze was, who posed so much of a threat that he forced Batman to have to dig deep in his bag of tricks and was shown adapting to each and every one of Batman's gadgets and takedown methods. Deathstroke would rank right above Freeze via statements of Jason stating that he was the toughest person Batman's ever fought, with him exchanging blows in his fight against Batman, which is why eventually he replaced Jason to become the commander of the militia in Arkham Knight. He also has the credentials, the scaling, and the gear to go up against and take down the likes of Ra's al Ghul and Mr. Freeze. But as strong as Deathstroke is, I don't think he's nearly as strong as Bane was in Arkham Origins. I don't think it's a coincidence that Bane was presented as the ultimate threat in the game where Deathstroke was in. Not only did Bane prove to be a tough fight for Batman in just his first encounter, where he was able to fight Batman to a draw, and a case can even be made that Bane had the upper hand in that fight. This is also backed up by their second fight, where Bane just blatantly had the upper hand against Batman, forcing him to use his shock gloves just to be able to restrain and beat Bane. This is a stark contrast to Batman's performance against Deathstroke, where Batman not only beat Deathstroke, but outskilled him to the point where Deathstroke was in such disbelief at the fact that someone as skilled as Batman could even exist. You can argue that Deathstroke definitely improved after all these years by the events of Arkham Knight, but it'd honestly be by an unquantifiable amount. With Batman one-tapping Deathstroke, that definitely doesn't help his case, and with Bane arguably besting Batman multiple times during their encounters, this will definitely place him over Deathstroke. Right above Bane, we have the person who beat Bane, that being Arkham Origins Batman. Batman in just his second year in the span of one night was able to beat a Venom amped and TN1 Bane, fight against Copperhead's poison, beat Croc, slump Deathstroke, and many, and I mean many of his rogues throughout the rest of the night. The Clown Prince of Crime comes in at the next tier. While amped up on Titan, he should be relative to or stronger than Asylum Bane, with Asylum Bane being stated to be at his strongest and stronger than usual, meaning that he would blatantly scale over TN1 Bane from Arkham Origins. This is also shown by him tagging and overpowering Asylum Batman, who has many more years of experience and training compared to his younger self, and since Titan Joker was able to overpower and harm this version of Batman, this would mean that he would just convincingly beat Origins Batman and every other character below him. Robin or Tim Drake has shown relativity to Nightwing and Batman, was shown fighting and moving on par with Batman. He too would also possess the skills and intelligence to fight against and take down the likes of Venom Amp Joker and a year 2 Origins Batman. Nightwing is a character constantly underrated and disrespected within the Arkham series. Although him losing to Harley the way he did might have you questioning why he's ranked so high, in Batman Arkham VR, Batman himself stated that Nightwing was the best fighter he's ever trained, with Batman even going as far to dreaming and believing that a theoretical fight between a bloodlusted version of himself and a conflicted and off-guard Nightwing could drag on and be close, which is more that can be said about anyone in the prior tier. As I said about Nightwing earlier in this video, a lot of his mishaps are due to his lack of focus and seriousness, not due to his skill deficiency. And due to him being seen as a primary candidate to replacing Batman, and even being able to mimic and replicate Batman's fighting style down to a T, the Sword of the Order of Saint Dumas would rank here. Batman tested Azrael and saw a possibility of Azrael possibly replacing him in the nearby future. While you can argue that Azrael was the only prime candidate due to Nightwing's unavailability, I don't really think this was the case. Due to Nightwing's lack of seriousness when the time calls for it, I think this would give Azrael many advantages against Nightwing, and with the skill gap between Azrael and Batman not being too large, the gap between him and Nightwing would be minimal, putting Azrael slightly above Nightwing. Moving on to the next tier, we have the Arkham Knight, who's showcased to be the greatest threat to Batman throughout the entire Arkham franchise. He knows how Batman fights, he knows how Batman thinks and moves, allowing him to get the jump on the Dark Knight and having Batman at his mercy. He was shown to be able to react to the speed of Batman's fear takedowns while being off guard, which is blatantly more impressive than anything Azrael or Nightwing have ever shown, which is why I find it extremely likely that Jason would dispatch of the tier below with moderate difficulty. While analyzing Jason's fight against Batman, he was able to give Batman some problems while being emotional, which would have made him off his game. When focused, Jason was able to press and evade Batman in multiple instances, which prior to him has only ever really been done by the Joker. But he still heavily lags behind the man whose shadow he still lives in. Arkham Batman, and especially Arkham Knight Batman, is built different. I know you probably heard this a bunch of times, but that doesn't make it any less true. Whether it's him fighting off the Joker's influence while handling his rogues, or him dealing with the adverse effects of Joker's blood, you can bet your life savings on the fact that this version of Batman will get the job done, and most importantly win. He outright scales over Jason, who, as I already established, was the deadliest of his rogues. Even if Jason was off his game, Batman was literally holding back against his former protege while trying to convince him to change his ways. He one-shot Deathstroke, he handled Ivy, he knocked out Azrael. Time and time again, he's shown that when it comes to combat and when it comes to skill, when it comes to having the equipment and the versatility to handle these threats, he reigns supreme as the strongest. After getting all of that out the way, thanks for watching this video, and make sure to keep an eye out for more frequent uploads. Depending on how well this video does, look out for more Arkham videos in the future. This is Destro, and I'm out.